on digital radio, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Expect the unexpected.
The Donut Bag presented by The Sportscast.
The Donut Bag, hosted by Joey Bag of Donuts. And here's your host, Joey Bag of Donuts.
We start the podcast with breaking news. We were just talking right before the thing is like, I don't know what's going on. I've been out of touch all day, but I know a little bit about what's going on. I don't know what's going on in the last hour. And just as we come on, we have breaking news. Trade. Browns are sending quarterback Kenny Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, Kenny.
Boy.
Wow.
Is Kenny Pickett going to play for every team at some point? Is he?
Yeah.
Is this going to be a Pokemon situation or something like that? I got to collect them all.
Yeah, pretty much. I put on and I thank you for doing it. You've been retweeting this just about every day I put it. I usually Monday through Friday. I said he was going to end up with the Raiders or the Commanders this morning, and he's going to the Raiders. He's a career backup. That's what he is, and I know a lot of Pitt fans aren't going to like that. But I'll tell you this. I mean, that could be a good thing. You can have a damn fine life as a career backup.
That's a good life.
Yeah, it's a good life. It's a well-paying life. And then the other thing on that too is, all you got to do is go in and win games. And he's been able to do that in Philly. He's been able to do that in Pittsburgh. It's good. Good for him. Now he's a Raider. So that would be his fourth team in 3 years. So, and it's only those true diehard, Pitt fans that are saying, oh, we ruined his career here and he should be starting and he'd be the next John Elway or the next Joe Montana or any of that crap. And I always go to back if he would have played at Tulsa or Oklahoma State or, Louisiana Tech, nobody would care. But yeah, so since he went to Pitt, there's still a lot of loyalists there. And but no, go into the Raiders and good for him.
I wonder what Kenny Pickett's legacy will be like 5-10 years from now or something like that. Because I mean, I don't know why, but I am a diehard lifelong Pitt fan. I blame Dan Marino. See, I think when things happen when you're a kid, they get like hardwired into you. And one of them was Dan Marino being one of the best quarterbacks in college football in like 1982, 1983, something like that. And that's when I was like very young, and it just got burned into me that Dan Marino is like the greatest thing ever. And he turned out to be one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. But I'm a diehard Pitt fan.
It was right before that draft, like maybe the prior year and I tell you, I'm a sucker for sports documentaries. I've been glued to the Dallas Cowboys one, which has been really good.
I got to watch that.
In fact, they actually did a decent job with Super Bowl 30, which that was something came up too a few weeks ago. Like, what's your most hated sports moment? That's always still mine is Super Bowl 30 because we had them. The ESPN 30 for 30, the quarterback class of 83, which is one of the better ones they ever did. And they spent like 20 minutes on Marino. And Marino obviously probably should have gone number one overall. You could make a case for maybe a few other guys in there. But we all know he went almost dead last, 27th to the Dolphins. And, they brought up in that documentary a little bit more than they had in other sports documentaries about. The rumor he was doing the drugs or he had experimented with drugs or whatever kind of drugs he did or whatever he did. And it scared the hell out of, I think the fans. And I don't care what you say, it gets back to Pittsburgh management. And, they did. They got Dan Marino fright. So yeah, and on the banner, just so you know, it says agent says Anthony Richardson's future with Colts is uncertain. But anyway, yeah,
What does Anthony Richards' agent think about Dan Marino?
Yeah, right. No, so I mean, that's the thing. Kenny Pickett was no Dan Marino. He never was. And I think for you and I, who saw them both play, and we're all sitting there like, are you people out of your mind comparing these two? I mean, they're not remotely the same. And really, Kenny Pickett didn't have a great college career until his last year. He wasn't really good going into it. Where Marino was an obvious talent, and I still say to this day, Marino is the best pure quarterback I think I've ever seen. I know Elway eventually got trophies. Montana's got 4. Bradshaw's got 4. Aikman's got 3. A lot of guys that are good arms. But I think Marino is a better pure passer than any of them. I think Elway might be right there. Brady's close, but I think, that's, Brett Favre's up there. But Marino is just, he'd be passing for 6,000 yards.
Oh, totally.
Right now.
Totally. The thing about Marino is, Montana had a little bit of mobility to him. Favre had a little bit of mobility to him. Elway had a little bit of mobility to him. Dan Marino had zero mobility. It was all on just his arm and that quick release. And yeah, I think he might be the best pure passer in NFL history.
Yeah, no, he definitely was, in my opinion. And he had you want to talk about Pitt. He had another, Pitt guy there, Dwight Stevenson, anchoring that line at centers in the Hall of Fame with him. But they just never could get everything clicking and going. And you'd think with, hey, it's Don Shula, he'll do it. And no, so
he went to the Super Bowl on his rookie year. And and everybody was thinking, is like, well, this is easy. I'm going to make multiple Super Bowls. And he never went back.
Yeah, and he said that. He has said that in another documentary I watched. He thought they would be back and back. Like, he didn't say we necessarily took that game lightly, but he felt like we'll be back. And that's, it's so hard with the Super Bowl, man. I mean, the whole thing about the Cowboys thing, I'm sitting there looking at it, kind of laughing at the same time, thinking it's been 31 years.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? It's been 31. It's we're going on 15 for Steelers, 16,
and we're freaking out.
We're freaking out. I mean, like the Chiefs, I still feel are going to be good. I put that in my thing this morning, but hey, Chiefs Nation, it's all going to come to an end at some point. It always does. It did for the 70s Steelers. It did for the 80s 49ers. It always ends up coming to an end, and it's how well can you rebound after that end to get you back, because it can be a long, long time, or it can be a really long time if you're like, Carolina, Jacksonville got to be coming up on 30 years of being in the NFL. And they've never, Carolina's been there, lost. Jacksonville's never been there. The Browns never been there. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wonder how Pittsburgh and Kenny and Pitt fans will view Kenny Pickett like down the road. I was at a Pitt game, I believe it was last year, when they always do a thing where they say, okay, here's a little segment on Pitt players in the NFL. Let's see how they're doing. And this was like in September or something, or maybe August or something like that. And they're showing all these players, and they say, here's Kenny Pickett doing stuff. And people started booing. It's like, wait a minute. Listen, Pitt fans, what are you booing for? He's the only good thing you've had in the last 40 years. It is miserable being a Pitt fan. I know. Every year we go 7-5 and something like that. Maybe we're lucky and we go 8-4. We have very little to hang our hat on. And this guy got us a conference championship. So show a little respect. Yeah, it didn't work out with the Steelers. It didn't work out with the Pittsburgh team, but show a little respect. I wonder how it's going to be down the line. I know Steelers fans still hate his guts, and I mean, I'm still mad at him. So it'll be interesting when there's some time has passed, how we all view him. No, I think you're mute. While we're waiting for, I don't know what happened there. Shout out to Andrew Stocky of WTA for tweeting, there goes that intriguing Browns Steelers matchup this fall. That would have been fun. That would have been fun to see this Kenny Pickett against the Steelers. And we shouldn't care. We shouldn't care about the backup quarterback for the Browns being traded to the Raiders, and he's going to be a backup there. We shouldn't care about this dude, but we do. A lot of people are still obsessed with the guy. So very funny. And I guess they're at one point they're talking about the Browns. I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, get it out.
Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, Andrew Stocky said, there goes that intriguing Browns Steelers matchup. Imagine Kenny Pickett playing against the Steelers. Oh, imagine Kenny Pickett playing against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Ho.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That would have been a lot of fun. I think a lot of us were looking forward to that one. But not to happen. And what I was going at until something was wrong with my mic, that I'm a Penn State guy. I try to keep up with Pitt from what I can see, but I forget, what did they win when he was a senior? Did they win
They won the ACC championship.
Right. So my point is, I wonder how that will go when they recognize that team in its 5th year, 10th year.
Right. Anniversaries, yeah.
Because the guy, you're right. Pitt, and I'm not bemoaning Pitt here, but Pitt doesn't have a lot to really root for.
Nope.
So when you have something like that to celebrate, and if he comes back, of course, if he's playing Sunday somewhere, probably can't make it. But if he comes back for that team, I would hope that they would give him a standing ovation because he was great that year. He's a big reason they won that. So, but so on, I guess, what do we learn this training camp? The punter battle was probably the most intriguing one of camp because that was probably the one position that was definitely unquestionably up for grabs. And that ended today, so they decided to keep Corliss Williamson and cut Cam Johnson.
I'm in shock.
I guess a lot of people are. If I'm right on the money, they only spent $4 million to get 2 punts out of him. But when they bring in Williamson, they actually make about $1.5, like $1.5 million. It's kind of almost a wash, but a little bit of a profit there, salary wise. But I think it came down to numbers, Joe. Now Cam Johnson had 6 punts in the preseason. Williamson had 5, but Williamson almost averaged 54, and Cam Johnson was still flirting with 47 to 48. And this is just what's sad about professional sports, the NFL in particular, and you know this better than most. Sometimes if you get hurt, and it's just not meant to be, and some guy steps in and he does well, which he did last year for us, and I think, and I really believe the Steelers special teams coach is probably one of the best in the NFL. And I think that came down to, I think Tomlin probably said, what do you think? What's your gut? And he went with Corliss Williamson. I got to trust that.
I think you're right. I think injury had a lot to do with it. I think either they think or they know that he is not completely recovered from that injury, and why not get the guy that was just kicking butt? So I didn't think it was a competition at all, but apparently it was, and Corliss Williamson won. So hey, good for him.
Yeah, you feel bad for Cam Johnson. I'm sure Cam Johnson's going to get picked up by somebody. I really do, and wish him luck. But yeah, that was kind of interesting battle at camp in these last 2 games. Williamson was a little bit better. Got his punts up a little bit higher. He had a higher hang time than Cam Johnson did too in 2 out of the 3 preseason games. And I think, you look at that, and I guess you could say, well, if there's some fall off, maybe we're going to go with the guy we originally paid to be our punter, but he's looked good last year. He had a 71-yard punt last year, and he continued to look good this preseason and just a little bit better than Cam Johnson. So there you go. There's our punter for this year.
Yeah. One of the biggest story going into training camp was how was Aaron Rodgers going to do? I want to say we're pleasantly surprised, but are we? Okay, we heard he's a good teammate and stuff, and we've seen some things in training camp, but we never saw him in preseason. So how do we know if he's actually going to be good? We don't know.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of guys that we didn't see in preseason from other teams too, so I can't really fault the Steelers for that. But I think he got a kind of a glowing review from Ben Roethlisberger. Probably has one of the most popular podcasts of anybody in the Berg, and rightfully so. And he made the statement that Aaron Rodgers looks great. He can make every throw you want him to make. I think that started to really kind of come out, and I think he will. And I think the other story is about protecting that 41-year-old. And the irony that I find was this first couple of weeks on our show, on a lot of other shows, everyone's like, Broderick Jones. And he wasn't performing well. Well, the last 2 weeks he has, and not many people have been talking about it. He quietly had a better last couple of weeks. And it seems like the Steelers are a little bit more comfortable with him in pass and in run. And so he quietly had and finished up those 2 good weeks. So makes you feel better about him. I wrote about with Pat Mahomes this past year. One of the chief struggles was that left side of the line got decimated by injury early. They had a guard playing their left tackle. He got sacked 36 times. And that's a guy, you were talking earlier about mobility. He's got a hell of a lot more mobility than Aaron Rodgers. And, for Mahomes to get sacked 36 times, that just tells you how valuable that left side of the line can be. Or in the right side, too. We don't want to dismiss the right side. But it seems like the Steelers hopefully have, and they're scheduled to begin with, too, Joe. First couple of games is rather softer. And hopefully that gives Broderick Jones the time to kind of get together and face a couple guys, play a couple things. If you're going to get a holding call now's the time to do it. We don't want to see a lot of them. But, I think they actually feel pretty comfortable with where he's at.
That was one of the big concerns, is what is going to happen with this offensive line. And I've been saying for months now, this entire team depends on Broderick Jones. And we heard bad things at the beginning of camp, but also it sounds like he was hurt. So once he recovered from whatever he had, he has looked, and we don't need him to be, it'd be nice if he was all pro, but we just need him to be good enough. And we know Aaron Rodgers is going to have a quick release. So you just need to keep him clean for a couple seconds. So just don't screw it up. The bar is kind of low. So just, don't screw it up. Don't get a holding penalty. That's it. Don't kill the quarterback. Don't hurt the team. That's it.
Right.
That's it. If you're just there, we're fine.
Right.
And Fautanu sounds like he's looking solid too. So the line has looked good. It's a little concerned that the running game hasn't really been going yet. But then again, they really haven't been out there that much. So
they haven't been. A little bit better in the last couple of weeks. But I think that's one thing. Again, it's a pretty good question to start to show off with. What have we learned? I don't know if we've learned everything we wanted to about our running back situation. Johnson looked better in the last 2 weeks, much like Jones did. And so, I'm kind of interested to see how that goes and what they use them in come week 1 against the Jets. So one, I want to see how the run blocking is, because I think we learned in camp it's gotten a little better. But two, I don't know how much we learned about what the running back situation is going to be like. Are we going to see Gainwell on third downs only? Are we going to see a mix of Warren and KJ, in the first two? I mean, it could be, and that's how it is pretty much across the league anyway. It's a running back by committee. But I'm really kind of curious to see how and what they're going to do. The other thing, too, I guess, moving from running game is the receiving game. Honestly, I think we're great on tight ends. We're set there. Depth is good. They did cut a tight end today. I forget, the name escapes me. But, they're going to keep 4 tight ends for sure. I think we're set there. I'm anxious to see what Jonnu Smith does. We didn't see a lot of him in camp. So that's another guy we didn't learn a lot about, and I'd like to see more of.
That was weird. Is he hurt or what's going on? We barely saw him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I hope we see Mount Washington in the end zone and the red zone. I think we learned that can be a great connection. And, I look forward to seeing that. I don't think he's going to be the guy with 70 or 80 catches. I think he might be a guy with, 30 to 40. And if he scores 6 or 7 touchdowns, great. That's exactly what you want out of him. So that I think we learned there. And then, the receiving core, what did we learn? We got a stud, and that's going to be great. What are we going to get out of these other guys, Joe? Roman Wilson showed some promises in preseason games, but we were just talking before we went on air. I still feel with all this action going on, I hope the Steelers get a guy. Yeah, Jacoby Myers just right around 5:30 announced he's asked for a trade from the Raiders. Here's a guy that had a very quiet, decent season last year. 87 catches, over 1,000 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns. But the Raiders were one of the worst teams in the league in the red zone, right? I think they were like next to last. So you get a guy like Jacoby Myers, he might become all of a sudden a guy like, holy crap, where'd he come from? And actually, technically, he had a great season last year. He was under the radar. But that's a guy who's very affordable. It'd be right around a little less than $10 million cap hit, which Steelers can afford. They have 30.9 to spend, or 30.9 in room. So I'd love to see Jacoby Myers in the black and gold.
The problem is, I think he wants a contract, and I don't know if I'm ready to give him a contract. And how much would he want? I don't know. He's 28, so still got a few good years on him. But I don't care what team you are. Every team right now is undefeated, and they think they have a shot at the Super Bowl. So when even the Raiders, when somebody's on the Raiders says, I want to leave, it's like, we're just about to start the season, dude. What are they going to do? Trade him for a draft pick or something like that? However, not only did Jacoby Myers say he wants off of the Raiders, what did they do almost immediately after? They pick up Amari Cooper. Like,
right.
Okay. So if we do lose this dude, we have somebody to replace him. So maybe he will be dealt.
He might be. And that's the only thing where I wish the Steelers would kind of get off the schneid and get another receiver. That I think there's a couple they could have gotten, they didn't. I think a lot of us want to see that because I think that's where, a lot of us are still uncertain about. I don't know if we learned much in training camp other than, okay, we know DK and Aaron Rodgers are going to be great. We know Rodgers and the tight end should be good. I don't think a lot of us are comfortable with that number 2 wide receiver. I don't think Calvin Austin's the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe he will be. I don't know, but I don't see it.
Calvin Austin's a good 3. Hopefully Roman Wilson will be a good 3, but he's no wide receiver 2 right now. We still need somebody. And you say, oh, wow, you could get by with DK and the guys that they have now, especially tight end and stuff. It's like, that's not the problem. The problem is if DK gets hurt, we're in the exact same situation we were last year when we lost our wide receiver 1. So you need the depth.
Well, and Steelers fans, you guys all have to be sitting there knowing the importance of having 2 decent receivers, right? I mean, we can go back to Swan and Stallworth. They're both in the Hall of Fame. Hines Ward and Randall L. You can even go that we were talking about Super Bowl 30. They weren't exactly world beaters, but Ernie Mills and Andrew Hastings and Thigpen, they all balanced each other out pretty well. It was a decent receiving core. It certainly wasn't Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper or Michael Irvin and Kyrie Williams, but it was a decent receiving core, and I think that's where, we know we have one. We're just not sold yet on Calvin Austin, and we haven't seen enough of Roman Wilson to be sold yet. Maybe they could be. We just don't know. And that's where I think that's what we just didn't learn as much in training camp as we would like to have. And, neither one of them have proven themselves yet. Now, Jacoby Myers, like I said, those are some pretty good stats on a fairly underwhelming Raiders offense last year, especially in the red zone.
He's underrated.
He is underrated. This would be a guy that would be a good pick up for the Steelers. They were not going to get Terry McLaurin. Yeah, they apparently, wet their lips and asked, hey, what do you want? And that went about as far as I would in a marathon. Didn't go far, but he signed today with the Redskins or the Commanders. And I think I'll never get used to saying the Commanders. He signed today with the Commanders. And I think, I'd really like to see the Steelers get Jacoby Myers. And look, there's no chemistry yet. It's going to take a few weeks to get everything in order. But, that's another thing that I love Jacoby Myers, Joe, because back to the last thing, I think we didn't learn as much as we would like to have on the receiving corps other than DK Metcalf, who didn't play it much either. But you could just tell at Steelers training camp, you saw it. They look good together.
The Terry McLaurin thing makes me laugh because almost 99% of contract disputes end in one way. They agree to terms. They agree to an extension. Okay. All this talk about, oh, can we get Terry McLaurin? It's like, no, because he's just going to sign with them. It's like, oh, contract negotiations are bitter. There's no way they'll sign a deal. And then a day later, they sign a deal. When you're dealing with millions of dollars, it's like, hey, you want millions of dollars? Yeah, I guess.
Although they can be fun. I mean, I've been putting out for the last 2 weeks now my 5 NFL quick hits. It's been not hard not to talk about Micah Parsons, although I think everyone's getting sick of talking about it. But the guy showed up the other day eating nachos, which that's
taking a nap.
That's me. That's me walking into a lot of games. I got my nachos, and then he's taking a nap. And man, nobody knows how to do contract negotiations bad like the Cowboys. I mean, it's always an issue with them. In 1993, Emmitt Smith held out. Remember, they went 0-2, and Cowboy Nation was having
he missed regular season games.
Yeah, he missed a flip. Well, he wanted $17 million. They gave him 13.6, which put him at, Thurman Thomas is 13.5. So Jerry Jones for Lent. So I'm not giving you 17, but I'll give you 13.6. You wanted to be the highest running back in the league. NFL, highest paid running back in the league at that time, which is what 13.6 got you. And he got him. And, he comes back, and what do? They go on like a 7-game winning streak. I don't know. The only thing is, I think the difference there is Emmitt Smith still liked being the Cowboys. The Cowboys still liked Emmitt Smith. This Micah Parsons thing has been entertaining, to say the least.
Now that's the one where I think it might end up in a divorce because that is really bitter.
It's pretty bitter. There's still a possibility he could go somewhere. Trey Hendrickson signed with the Bengals today. That was the other big announcement.
Yeah.
But
another bitter contract to go dispute.
But still the Bengals didn't do that right by him because they're going to pay him what they're going to pay him. He's still going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So he's probably going to ball it out this year, and he's going to sign somewhere else big money.
And they're going to do the same thing next year,
yep.
or he's going to sign somewhere else. Like
right. Yeah, and that's where I think I feel better going back to our original thing from the start of the show. I do feel like the Steelers could finish ahead of the Bengals this year because I have a lot of faith in this defense. I really do. It looked good. It looked good all preseason. It looked good in Latrobe. It looked good against NFL teams. They have a lot of hard decisions to make. The only one was, I guess you could call it surprising. Mark Robinson was cut today, inside linebacker. But then when I looked at the inside linebacker depth, both right and left, I mean, they have Queen, Wilson, Cole Holcomb, who they love and we like, Malik Harrison. And then the one that was kind of a surprise, Carson Bruner, showed a lot of value, not only in the linebacker spot, but he also showed tremendous value on special teams to the point where, he may be our best special teams player. And that's a guy, where he's going to earn a spot. So right there, I think that put him over Mark Robinson, who is a great, great run stopping linebacker. So maybe a surprise, maybe not. I think if that was anybody else that was drafted like 7th, like Carson Bruner, and they were underperformed, I think Robinson makes the team. But, Bruner stepped up. He's the last draft pick we had this year, and he looked good.
Yeah. And I mean, another thing we have to consider is most of these, a lot of these people that were cut, that were surprised, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they cut him. They're just going to end up on the practice squad anyway.
Right.
So this is just a little, transactional thing.
Yeah. Robinson probably ends up somewhere. I definitely think Cam Johnson will end up on a team. I don't know about Ben Sauls, the kicker from Pitt. He might end up on a team. He definitely looked good, but, we had the best kicker in football, so you weren't making a team.
The weird thing about him is apparently he's a left. He kicks with his left leg, and that messes up. I mean, I could see how that would mess up an entire field goal unit. You basically have to do like learn a whole other kind of thing It's not just, as simple as like, oh, you instead of right kick, your left kick.
Yeah,
I mean, and he did look good in preseason. Good for him. So hopefully he catches on somewhere. But it's not the easiest thing to go from a right-handed kicker to a left-handed kicker.
No, we all saw what happened to Ray Finkel. That turned into be a bad deal.
Laces out, Dan.
Laces out, Dan. He's a left-handed kicker. Yeah, left-footed kicker. Yeah, poor Ray Finkel. But yeah, so those are the things. And I'm trying to think of the defensive back they cut today. Damn, I had that down. I must have misplaced it. But yeah, so tomorrow's probably the more interesting day, Joe. I think there could be some cuts tomorrow. People are going to be like, whoa. I still think Corey Trice might be one of them. We'll see, because I think they want to get Juan Pierre on special teams, and that might be the reason. But if they're going to keep Carson Bruner, that may have just saved Corey Trice's bacon. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. They have some difficult decisions to make tomorrow. The good thing about that is, again, what we learned in camp is defense looks good. Defensive backs are solid. Linebackers are solid. And let's be honest. One thing we haven't talked about. The big thing is Steelers sidestepped a landmine, and Derek Harmon being only looking like he might miss 2 or 3 games. Because that when he went off in the Cardinal, look at his face is what killed me.
Right.
Look at his face. I'm like,
yeah.
oh no. But yeah, if he's only in a few games, so be it. But it looks like defensive line is going to be pretty nice and deep there, and it should be a much more improved defensive line. Y.A. Black. I'll tell you right now, I only own a few jerseys. If he ends up being a stud, I might be buying a 78 jersey or asking for a 78 jersey for Christmas, because I love that kid. I'm all in for the Selly belly. That was great.
Oh, yeah, rub that belly.
Fantastic. That was phenomenal, and I was getting a little vibes there. A big snack right there. Big snack. So yeah.
Y.A. Black has been a pleasant surprise. I think the expectations for him were pretty low. What was he? 5th round?
3rd. I think he was 3rd, wasn't he?
No, I think 4th or 5th.
Oh, that was Sawyer. Sawyer was 3rd.
Yeah. So yeah. So they weren't expecting much from him, and I think he is really impressed in camp. So I think that was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, the Harmon thing just it ruined my night. I was so angry. I was like, why are you playing anybody? Put everybody in bubble wrap. Get a whole bunch of bubble wrap and just put everybody in bubble wrap. He might miss a game or 2. Who knows? They really dodged a bullet there. Thank goodness. It's not a good look when you lose your 1st-round draft pick every year to an injury. That's not a good look. So.
No, it wasn't. And now the talk is, well, when's he going to come back? Honestly, take your time. I mean, it seems like defensive line-wise, we should be good. I don't see a reason to rush him back. So get healthy, Derek, and we'll see you in a week or 2 or 3, and that's all good.
Yep. One thing we were supposed to learn is how was Will Howard going to do in camp, and we kind of did, and then until he got hurt. It would have been awesome to see him if Will Howard was playing in those preseason games. That would have been as high rated as like any TV show this year or something like that. That would have been must see TV. But instead, we get Skylar Thompson balling out, and there's a lot of people saying it's not. And the debate is, well, what do you do? What do you do? Do you somehow try to keep Skylar Thompson, or you just say, okay, who cares about the 3rd quarterback and just make it Will Howard or what? But a lot of people are saying, get rid of Mason Rudolph and have Skylar Thompson be the 2nd quarterback too. Come on, people. Skylar Thompson is going against bartenders. Okay. He's going against the 89th person on the roster. He's what, 28? He has faced real competition before and has not looked good. So, let's pump the brakes on the Skylar Thompson Hall of Fame ceremony.
Well, and the thing is, we got a comment from our listeners there. Tim Waller, I know Tim's out of Coriopolis, and he says he hopes This is on Facebook, Joe, Facebook Live. He hopes that Jones is ready to take the next step, and I think we did cover that, but I think he is too.
I agree.
So, yeah, great comment, Tim. I agree with you totally. Yeah, the funny thing was up until today, the talk was they may put oh gosh, I saw
Will Howard.
Yeah, Will Howard on short-term IR.
Yeah.
But now he's practicing again with the team and like full pads. So I don't know. It's like the Browns have been a absolute marquee for quarterback conundrum. And most everybody was saying the last couple of days they're not carrying all four of those guys. They released Tyler Huntley, I think Monday or Sunday. And so okay, they're not carrying all four of those guys in. And that's why I said this morning on little pat on my back, I think Kenny Pickett's going to be traded to the Raiders or Commanders, and he's gone. I don't think the Steelers are going to carry four. As much as everyone loves Skylar Thompson, and I love them too, yeah. And that's the only thing I thought of too, Joe. Is that, could you imagine that all these people wanted Mason Rudolph to start, and let's say they didn't get Aaron Rodgers, now we would have a quarterback controversy of who's number one, Skylar Thompson or Mason Rudolph. It makes me think back to the Jim Miller, Kent Graham, Cordell Stewart. Remember that three-headed monster? And like Jim Miller started the first half, and then
one game, not even one game, and Cowher's like, "Get the hell out of here!
Yeah,
I don't want to see you again."
Enough of this shit. Let's put in Cordell, and there you go. But yeah, so I don't know, Joe. I just I think they saw enough with Will Howard that they're not going to let him go. So I think Skylar Thompson's going to be one of those guys that's probably going to get cut. Maybe you're right. Maybe practice squad. Maybe someone else picks him up, but Steeler fans will probably lose their minds a little bit, as Steeler fans do, when a guy's good or he looks good. But I just don't see him carrying four quarterbacks. I just don't.
Right. And yeah, there's no way you could expose Will Howard because, he's a draft pick and he has a certain pedigree and somebody would pick him up. But yeah. There's no way we're keeping him. We're not the Browns, okay?
Right.
The Browns is the Browns. They could keep 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks. Good for them. Not us.
Well, and you got to look. I mean, look, there is football outside of the Steel City, and all these other teams have these quarterback conundrums too. So if Skylar Thompson doesn't make the team, I don't see anybody swooping in tomorrow to pick him up. He still might be out there and make the practice squad, like Joe alluded to earlier, and I think that's where you'll end up seeing him. But yeah, that's where I think we're going to see. But I don't think he's the quarterback number 2 just yet.
One thing, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see who gets cut tomorrow. Beanie Bishop did not even play in the last preseason game. This is a guy that's on the bubble, and he didn't even play. So either that means he's absolutely gone, or he's hurt, or something's going on. But that was a bit of a surprise. You thought this was a guy that was going to be, fighting for his spot, and they didn't even play him.
Right. No, I totally agree. And he was injured. And I don't know. I can't see them cutting Beanie. I think they keep Beanie over Corey Trice, but I could be wrong. But, Beanie started last year for them. And again, I think it was somewhat of a mystery. I don't know what fell off that they thought, I know they were moving Malik around a little bit there, to see where he might fit in. But I just don't know if that would be, I don't know. I don't know if Beanie will be cut tomorrow. That could be the one surprise cut, though. I think a lot of people would be shocked if Beanie was gone. I don't know if I'd be shocked, but, they love Corey Trice. They love him. We've talked about this before. I just don't know about Corey Trice's injuries, and if Beanie has just a minor rolled ankle, I think he has a good chance of making that team. So
he's hurt every year. You gotta stay healthy at some point. Like, yeah, Corey Trice has, he has a size, he has everything you want, but if you can't stay healthy, that's just a really bad look every single year.
Yeah.
And that was his thing coming from college is he was hurt. That's why he went so low. So that's tough.
Well, they cut Daryl Porter Jr. today. Now, a lot of people thought Daryl Porter Jr. might have had an outside chance of making his team because he had a pretty good preseason and a good camp, but he got cut today. So that might be another reason that, maybe Beanie stays on the team, with that. But, I don't know. It's going to be kind of interesting to see who else is in there because he's definitely better than Dante Kent. I don't think Dante Kent makes a roster, but he's they brought in Jalen Ramsey, Joe. I mean, you're not going to play over Jalen Ramsey unless Jalen Ramsey has something serious go wrong.
Yeah,
and so you're playing back up to him, and maybe they can learn from him. I don't know, but I'd be surprised if Beanie got cut. But that's how roster cuts go. There's going to be one guy tomorrow that's going to make everybody go, "What?" And there's going to be.
Oh yeah, it's going to be. It's something is going to be very surprising. Yeah, I mean, just today there was a lot of surprising news. So,
I think one guy that may have played his way onto this team over the last 2 games, maybe Scotty Miller, Joe.
Oh yeah, and it's almost a foregone conclusion that Robert Woods is not making the team.
Well, he's 105 years old.
That's true.
But like right now, if you look at the depth chart, scarily he's listed as number 2. And I just 4 years ago, I'd be excited about that. Just today, I'm not. So that's what I mean. It's kind of scary because and that's why I think they've got to find some way to bring somebody in these next 3 or 4 days, and I really do because that scares me.
I would just be shocked if Omar Khan made the same mistake 2 years in a row. You'd think he would have learned from last year to not have enough wide receivers and to do the same exact thing 2 years in a row. That's just a bad look.
Yeah, because as much as you and I criticized the kid all season last year, I really think that George Pickens is probably going to have a decent year in Dallas. I said it last year. I said he goes somewhere. That's what they do in Dallas. I mean, that's why he's been a hot commodity in fantasy. Is he's going to be a deep ball getter. I think Dak will get it to him. Dak's one of the better deep ball throwers in the league. He's probably going to have a nice year in Dallas. And I do have to say there's part of me that says it would have been kind of neat to see what would it be like to have him and DK on the same receiving core. But were you going to get the jackass attitude and the piss poor locker room attitude and all the other bad mouthing he did? And I think no matter how talented he is, it was that bad. The Steelers were like, we're done. We've had enough. And sometimes those kind of guys work out in Dallas. So
he could be amazing, or he could be cut. It could go either way with George Pickens. It'll be really interesting. Now you've seen this Cowboys documentary. I have not, but it kind of sounds like their whole mission is just to get publicity, just to get people talking about them, good or bad. I don't, no matter what, I don't care if it's good or bad. I want you to be talking about it. So it kind of seems like their MO.
It definitely is. And, I don't hate the Cowboys, I guess. I don't like the Cowboys. I hated them back in the 90s. I hated them especially Super Bowl 30. It seemed like they had everybody. They had Mike Orton, they had Emmitt Smith, they had Troy, they had Eric Williams and Charles Haley, and then they go and get Dion, and I guess that's the way it goes in sports, Joe. Once the dynasty gets going, everybody hates them, right? I mean, your people hate the Yankees, people hate, whatever. For a while there, the Detroit Red Wings were the most hated hockey team in Pittsburgh, and that's kind of come and gone. But that's the thing with the Cowboys. And Jerry Jones bought that team and turned it into a winner. And, the thing was that the interesting part is there's a lot of stuff with him and Jimmy Johnson that went wrong. It's a very interesting thing. But, yeah, one of the bigger things, too, a lot of people remember this. Well, our older reviewers will remember this, but there's a time where everybody in the NFL had to do what everybody else did. It was very uniform. And so if you remember, the Cowboys in 94, 95 went with Nike when everybody in the NFL agreed to go with Logo Athletic and Reebok, which are the same company at the time. And there was a $300 million lawsuit against the Cowboys from the owners. He turned around and sued the owners for $720 million.
Wow.
It just, he is gonna go down, whether you love or hate him. It's probably one of the more charismatic, cruel, nice, devious owners in the history of professional sports.
The Super Bowl 30, it still ticks me off, but what really ticks me off is that wasn't Jimmy Johnson winning that Super Bowl. It was Barry Switzer. You talk about somebody like the worst coach ever to win a Super Bowl. That guy had no business. He was just along for the ride. That was Jimmy Johnson's team. We accused Tomlin of winning with cowards players.
Yeah. Well, Troy Aikman hated him. Troy Aikman hated him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And this documentary uncovered more than what you used to know. And, he just did not like Barry Switzer at all. And you're right, Switzer was like the Antichrist, right? I mean, he did not go over well. And with fans even at some points. Totally two different coaching styles. Barry Switzer is more like the fun guy, right? And Jimmy Johnson was like ride them hard. And so it was kind of interesting how that played out. And really, Joe, the dichotomy is so polar opposite of the Roonies. And when I put out that day, I finished watching it. The one thing it failed to mention in that documentary, although Bill Cowher hits on it a little bit, is the way that worked is the guy whose name was Jim Evans. He was the assistant VP at NFL Films at the time, and he was the president of I forget what it was, but he was high up. I mean, Chris Sable and his dad were the only guys higher than Jim Evans. And they got together and they say, Jim, go to Pittsburgh, see Art Rooney. We have a documentary. We want to do this America's team thing. We want to go. So he goes to Pittsburgh, flies, meets with Art Rooney. Art Rooney says, well, very flattered. Thank you. But we're not America's team. We're Pittsburgh's team. So Dallas got the America's team from an NFL Films documentary that's how it all started. They were sloppy seconds, excuse the term, but I don't think they got that America's team when the Steelers were kicking their ass in the 70s. And that just kills. That's always been one of my things with the Cowboys is like, you're not America's team. You're only America's team because we basically said no. And you're all like white collar, $1 million oil barons. And we're up here busting our ass, working double shifts in steel mills and everything else that goes along with Pittsburgh. We're much more indicative of America's team than Dallas ever was or ever will be.
The Steelers aren't America's team. They're the world's team. They're the universe's team. There's probably Steelers bars on Neptune or something.
Right. Yeah. There's Cowboys bars in Charlotte like you do in Pittsburgh.
Right. I've never seen a Cowboys bar. So like, I know some Cowboys fans, but they're they just escaped the mental facility. So we loved the Cowboys are a great villain because it's the same thing every year. And it's the same thing. Now Dave says that people hate the Pens and Sid. So I think that's different. I think people hate the Penguins and Sidney Crosby like football fans hated Tom Brady. It's like, we hate you because you were so good and you beat us. That's the only reason people say. I mean, why would you hate Sidney Crosby other than he's not on my team and he keeps winning?
I always remember going to a lot of those games and even my wife would say it best, like especially the Flyers, like they would beat up on Sid. Remember the game they knocked his teeth out, and like the madder he got, the better he played.
Right,
like, you don't want to piss him off, and it was so great because it came against the Flyers of all teams. So there is that bit of rival, and I mean we always talk about the Browns and the Ravens here, but the Cowboys I think are definitely right in the mix of our biggest rivalry. We don't like them, they don't like us, and I hate to admit it, but they do have a good fan base. Cowboys fans travel. They are always top 2 or 3 in merch sales every year. They have a massive fan base. I do know of a Cowboys bar in Des Moines, Iowa. It's there and they're right there. So, which is why Super Bowl 30 was so much fun. And I just, I wanted to win that so bad. We should have won it, and O'Donnell screwed it up, but let's not go down there. We had that game. We had them. We had the momentum. And even Emmitt Smith in documentary saying, man, they stopped him. They held him to 3 yards in the first half. He only had 3 yards in the first half of that game. That was their goal, was to stop Emmitt Smith.
That was the game that Rod Woodson came back. He was out all year with a blown knee. And instead of putting him on injured reserve and having him be out for the year, he's like, no, keep me on. I want to be back for the Super Bowl.
Right. Remember the one time he totally broke up a pass between Irvin and
he pointed to his knee. Yeah.
Yeah. And, that pissed off Michael Irvin. But they talked about that. And Emmitt Smith talked about, here we are in the fourth quarter. We're playing not to lose. And they had all the momentum. And he said, here comes Larry Brown, who, was a nobody. And ended up, I think the Jets gave him a big contract.
Right. He had a big contract. Just
he never did anything. And but yeah, that was the turning point in that game.
And I hate Neil O'Donnell, but I don't think it was his fault. I think it was either Andre Hastings or I think his name was Courtney Hart. I forget who it was, but I think the wide receiver screwed up on one of those interceptions.
Hastings definitely in the first one ran the wrong route. And the second one, it's pretty debatable, but I think O'Donnell put it right in his belly. Good Lord.
I heard he was the mafia down in Buffalo, New York. He paid him off and that's what happened.
But yeah, you could stomach losing some other NFC teams, but losing to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they feel the same way, right? They lost 2 Super Bowls to us, and they were 2 great Super Bowls. It's not like we didn't blow them out in those Super Bowls, but we definitely beat them. We definitely played better.
I always remember Jackie Smith.
Oh.
Jackie Smith, I believe, came out of retirement just to win a Super Bowl, and he was a tight end or something like that. And they were about to score a touchdown. Staubach throws it. He's wide open in the end zone. Staubach throws it, and he drops it. And I think they settled for a field goal that drive. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the difference in the game because it was 35-31. So,
yeah, I remember the famous thing was, he's got to be the sickest man in America.
Right.
Roger Staubach hit him right between the numbers.
Yeah.
And he just flat out dropped it. So,
which is the Super Bowl where the guy patted Roy Jarrell on the head and Jack Lambert destroyed him?
I think that was Super Bowl 10. And Lambert just throws the guy, and that was Chuck Howley, who's just made the Hall of Fame a few years ago. I think Chuck Howley has this distinction, either him or Jake Scott, of being the only Super Bowl MVP on a losing team. But so trying my barstool knowledge there. But the Cowboys, you're right, David. They haven't won anything in 30 years, and we like to point that out. And I don't think they'll win much again this year in that division behind the Eagles and the Commanders. But we should see with them.
I wonder what it's like. Well, yeah, I pick the Cowboys to be a dark horse. Possible. I think they might surprise in the NFC East. And I think Washington's going to surprise the other way. I think they just got too good too quick, and I think they're not going to be as good as last year. But we'll see.
That's a possibility. I think we said this last week, but I think Dallas is like the Cincinnati of the AFC or the NFC. They're gonna score points without question, but their defense can't stop anybody, and their defense sure as hell isn't going to stop anybody without Parsons. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, Dave has a good point that with Pittsburgh, the Steelers are so popular around the country because a lot of people had to leave Pittsburgh to go somewhere else because all the steel jobs dried up in the 70s and 80s. So
right.
Yeah, it's like that's why we're so popular all over the place, because there's still a lot of displaced Pittsburghers all over the place.
I'll never forget one of the more remote ones too in this country. We talked about the Caribbean last week. Part of one of my final sales territories before I ended up leaving FedEx, and they were there's a Steeler bar in Minot, North Dakota, or somewhere in North Dakota. And he's like, "Hey, you mean you're based out of Pittsburgh? We're all huge Steeler fans up here, And I know there's like a major Air Force base in Minot. I think there's like our nuclear. I think we have a nuclear base there. But there's a Steeler bar in North Dakota, in the middle of nowhere. So that stuff always kills me.
Whenever I go out of town, I always wear Pittsburgh sports gear, usually Steelers. I almost always get someone saying, "Hey, Steelers," or say, "Hey, I'm from Pittsburgh." Hey. Sometimes I wear Pirates gear, and someone came up to me once. I think this was like in middle of Pennsylvania or something like that. Says, "I know you're from Pittsburgh." He says, "Why?" Says, "Only a Pittsburgh fan would wear a Pirates hat."
Right. That's usually me too. It's with me. It's usually Penn State. Sometimes the Steelers. I think I told you this a few years ago, which is funny. I stopped wearing some of the Steelers stuff back when they were kind of maybe not bringing Mike Tomlin back. And they're like, "Oh, if you guys let Mike Tomlin go, we'll pick him up in a second." I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sick of hearing that." But no, you can always tell. Or Penguins, they got their Penguins gear on. That's Pittsburgh for you.
Yeah.
And it's Pitt or Penn State or the Steelers, Pirates, Penguins. It's just very funny.
It is funny when you go to like New Jersey, like southern New Jersey, like the part of New Jersey that has like the beaches and stuff, like Wildwood, New Jersey and stuff like that. It is funny. They're big Eagles fans, and they're not Flyers fans. They're anti Sidney Crosby fans.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's so weird. It's like, okay, Phillies, yeah, I get that. Eagles, yeah, I get that. We hate Sidney Crosby. Like, what is this? They're obsessed with him. It's like he literally lives rent free in their head. It's so funny.
And all the traveling I do, and I do a lot of traveling, and honestly, I get healthier. I'll be back to traveling, but I'll see Yankees quite a bit. New York teams, Yankees, Mets, stuff like that. But by far, Pittsburgh fans wear their fandom better than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Packers are pretty good. Of course, I'm flying through the Midwest, so I see a lot of Packers stuff. But man, Steelers by far is really.
There is some account that had a video, and it was how every Pittsburgher packs when they go out of town, and it shows a suitcase, and it's like, okay, I'm putting my one Steelers jersey, I'm putting another Steelers hat, another Steelers shirt, another Steelers shirt. It's like that's how we when we go somewhere, we got to be prepared to have our multiple Steelers shirts.
Yeah, well, that's funny because so this will be my last podcast from home until probably November, because I'll go into the hospital next week for the stem cell, getting ready for a stem cell transplant. And most of our calls coming forward are going to either come from UPMC Shady side, at least through September. And then after that, I got a condo because I have to be within like a half an hour of the hospital for the first 100 days. Okay. After that, I'll be a condo in Crafton that I got. So that'll be on the road. But, and I started laying some stuff out tonight. And I have a pile of Steelers shirts I'm taking. So I'm right there with you. Like, okay, I got to take that Steelers shirt. I got to take that Steeler hat. I throw a terrible towel in there. Because you never know when you need a terrible towel in the hospital.
Oh, totally.
Right, totally. So yeah, that's total Yinzer right there.
Yeah, you're DJS Berg. Yeah, you're must follow. You put together great analysis, and I know it's going to keep them coming. It's basically 5 thoughts every day, and like a lot of good stuff. So yeah, if you're not following Darren, make sure you do the DJ Esberg.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. I love your stuff too, and often I'll ask my wife or someone like your question of the day. And I wouldn't have guessed the one today about bathing and showers. Was it 48% of people?
It was over a third of us do not do this daily. What is it? Shower or bathe?
My son would qualify for that, but he's 11. So he gets a pass. He gets a pass.
Those are boys. Boys are stinky. That's what are you gonna do?
Yeah, right. Girl. If we had a girl, we wouldn't have any problem. But it takes.
He would go the other way, and he would shower twice a day and like bathe himself in Axe body spray or something if there was a girl involved.
It's me and my wife.
It's coming. He's a little young now. It's coming. He'll be after the girls.
Right. We need a Steelers defensive line to get him into the shower. So it's like. But no, he's a good boy. And, but yeah, that's what's funny about that. So when I saw your answer, I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah.
Some stinky people out there.
There are some stinky people out there.
And on that note,
right.
Thanks everybody. Thanks. Hi Dave. Thanks for we're gonna have you on pretty soon. Yeah, and we'll see what happens. It's gonna be it's been an interesting day and night, and it's gonna be real interesting tomorrow. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Thanks as always, Joe. Appreciate you. And thanks for all our listeners and commenters today too.
All right. We'll see you.